So we have a bunch of people that like slid into our DMs
Ooh,
that like listen to the podcast.
nice.
Like, let me
That's
find
so
one.
fun.
Someone just watched Barbarian or listened to Barbarian and they were like, that was a super episode. I really enjoyed it. You guys have awesome chemistry.
Ooh.
Oh, there's this one podcast that follows us called Rooted.pod, and they're like plants. Like
Oh, that's funny.
they like post about different plants and then the folklore behind them, but they
Okay.
love our podcast. Now we just got to get those downloads up because I feel like they're still kind of low.
I
But
know.
that's okay.
I know.
We're so
We'll get
close.
there.
Hello, and welcome to Spooky Sips, where we put our love of horror movies into a podcast and sip some spirits along the way. I'm one of your hosts, Yvette. I'm here with my co-hosts, Laura and Brianna.
Hello.
Hey. All right. So we just watched the Blair Witch Project, which is about 3 students who venture into the woods to try to find the local myth, the Blair Witch. And it was kind of the first of its time because it's this found film footage mockumentary, like, and it was kind of the first to do that. I think it was the first to do that. And I remember when it came out, what a big deal it was. So let's talk about that first. Did you see it when it came out? And if so, how was that?
Well, I was a baby, so I didn't go see it when it came out.
Wait, what year were you born?
I was just a little baby.
She was born in
96.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
So I have watched this. I watched it a few years ago. But yeah, not when it came out.
Okay, so I watched it when it came out, and yeah, I remember I snuck over to a friend's house to see it because we weren't allowed, because I was pretty young.
I was gonna say, you were a baby too.
Yeah, I think I was like, geez, what year was it?
99.
You probably would have been like 10.
Okay, so yeah, I was 10 or 11. Yeah, so I was pretty young. And I don't really remember watching it. I just remember the novelty of watching a movie I wasn't supposed to. And I do remember it scared me.
Yeah.
So,
I think this would be really scary for a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Spooky Sippers, this is Laura, by the way. I'm a little under the weather, so if you don't recognize my voice, that's because I'm losing it. So this will be fun because we're doing a double feature tonight. But yeah, I also was not allowed to watch it. This was when our parents were still, it's funny because I feel like our parents kind of changed in our life, but when we were younger, they were very against like anything evil.
Yeah. It is rated R too.
Right.
Yeah, it's rated R. And so we weren't allowed to watch it. But then our family friends came over to, like, I think my parents went away for the weekend or something. And their friends came over to watch us. And we went and we rented a video at like the local video rental store. And we convinced them, like, so this was our older sister and I, we convinced them that to get Blair Witch. And they were like, did your parents say it's okay? And we're like, yeah, they said it's okay. So we got it. And then I think somehow the people watching us found out that it was not okay. So they were like, sorry guys, like you can't watch it. So we watched something else that night, but then in the morning we like woke up early, snuck downstairs, and then like got the VHS tape and like brought it up into our rooms to watch it up there in the morning, just so that we could watch the scary. And we were also then like on the lookout to make sure that we didn't get caught sneaking watching it. So it was very scary at the time.
And rewatching it as an adult, so I haven't rewatched it until this most recent time. I understand why, because I'm like, okay, first of all, they dropped the F-bomb like
154 times.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because it's got to be something astronomical, like,
because it's
so
like
when you for that,
when you divide it by the number of minutes, it's like they drop it once every 45 seconds on average.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
What a great statistic.
But it is also like, I have to say, my expectations going into rewatching it were really low. I was like, okay, this is just going to be like, honestly, a shitty film that I got to get through for the pod.
Me too.
Okay. Yeah. And it It surprised me. It actually held up better than I expected. It actually held up better than I expected. Because like I said, my expectations were really low and I actually enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. See, I didn't love it the last time I watched it, which was only a few years ago.
Yeah.
So going into it, I was like, oh no, I have to watch this again. And I think I don't know. This one's really tough, honestly. I find myself debating this movie a lot.
Yeah.
I think it divides people.
They're so annoying as human beings.
They are,
in my opinion, that like
them all.
They are the most insufferable people.
Mm-hmm.
So spending an hour and a half with them is like really draining.
Okay, also, it's nauseating to watch.
Yeah.
It is.
And I had a migraine when I watched this.
That's probably what caused your migraine.
That did not help. It could
what
not
was I thinking?
Yeah, like right from the beginning, even just the credits or the intro text, it's all wobbly. And so certain times I just have to look away because it's nauseating.
No,
okay, so this will be a slightly different podcast because to be honest, the summary is pretty basic. Like I feel like we don't need to necessarily go into like, because it's not like the traditional like deaths and breakdown of scenes. There's really not much happening in this movie. Mm-hmm. So we'll get into it, but like it's going to be we're going to more assess the movie than summarize it because the summary is pretty quick. Right. Basically, it's 3 people go to film a documentary into the woods and get lost, and that's the movie. Like, there you go. I just summarized the whole movie for you.
It's a lot of buildup. There's a
a lot of buildup.
It is the epitome of a slow burn. If that's what you're into.
Yes.
Well, and one thing I remember about this movie when it came out, and you both would probably be too young for it, but I was like right at that prime age because I would have been 14.
Mm-hmm.
So right.
Yeah.
14. So like at that age where I'm like, kind of excited by fear and scary things. And it was like the first viral, I think, video campaign.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Because they did such a good job. And for me, the age that I was too, I was old enough to like enjoy it, but like young enough to be where we didn't know if it was real. And that's how they campaigned it. And genuinely, like myself and like a lot of my friends, there was debates on that because they used the actors' real names and like they presented it as we really did find this. And there was no like, I think that the actors didn't do a lot of like press or anything much before it because they made it seem like it really happened.
Like they really were missing. They wanted it to appear that they were really missing.
And like I remember their website was like iconic.
Yes. Okay. I'm happy that you went to the website. I was going to ask you if you did.
Yeah. So it's funny because my husband was around when I was watching it, and then he was like, "Do you remember the website? Like everyone would go to it, and there was all these like facts and like people were analyzing like here's where the car was found, and here's where they walked, and here like."
Oh my
people
gosh.
got super into it, super into it.
No, yeah. For anyone who isn't familiar, they went all out with the marketing for this movie. It's a big part of their success for sure. And one of the things that they did to make it convincing was a full year before the release of the movie, they created a website with all of this information and stuff that they were putting out there to show that they were lost. On IMDb, if you looked up the actors before the movie came out, they were listed as missing, presumed dead on either like their IMDb page.
Oh my gosh.
Like they went all out. So I got the DVD, as I now love doing every week. And one of the bonus features was called like something about like the Blair Witch, which I thought would be like the making of the Blair Witch or something. But it was all of the footage that they created to further this story that they were missing. So the story started and it was like talking to Heather's parents and their friends and her teachers about how good of a student she was. So
oh my gosh,
they committed to making it look like they were missing in real life.
Holy cow. I heard a rumor that her mom was sent like sympathy cards and stuff like in real life. Like the actress's mom was like by people that knew her was like actually sent like flowers and condolences because they genuinely believed that her daughter was missing.
I mean, how could you not?
So say what you will about the movie, but especially for its time, because this was 1999, websites were not like super big.
Yeah.
I mean, they were, but not like they are now. The marketing team
knew what they were doing.
They did an amazing job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Which is like, see, that's the internal debate I have with myself about this movie, because I don't love it for a lot of different reasons. But one reason I try to forgive the shaky cam and the dizzying shots and stuff is that that is how a real person would use a camera.
I suppose, although they're supposed to be film students. So for being film students, they are terrible with their cameras.
Oh, you know what? That's very true.
But like later, they should have had it progress. Like it should have been okay to start with. And then as they got panicked, it could have gotten worse. Yeah. But it was bad from the get-go.
It was terrible from the beginning.
They should have had it devolve.
Yeah.
Is what they should have had.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Honestly, I somehow didn't put together that they were film students, so they should have been good. Because the actors were basically given like a 2-day crash course on how to use the camera, which obviously is not enough time to learn how to use a good camera.
Right.
So I know, like, especially at the beginning, there are a lot of scenes that are out of focus and stuff. That was not intentional. That was them just being bad at camera work.
And not knowing what to do.
So it's like when they're interviewing the local townsfolk about the legend and everything, you know, a lot of them are just out of focus and stuff. That wasn't intentional. That was just them trying to figure out how to use the camera.
That's amazing.
Because they did really just send them out, right?
Yes.
Like they just sent those 3 actors out into the woods to film themselves, right?
Yeah. Okay. So we can talk about that a little, because really this movie is just, it's just a social experiment.
Yeah.
When you think about it, like, obviously there was a movie, but you know, what these 3 people went through, I think would be in real life very difficult. So the directors, writers, producers, they came up with a 35-page outline of what this movie would look like, but there were no lines. Like there wasn't like a script as in a traditional sense. And so when they did auditions for it, they only wanted people that were really good improvisers. So it was kind of like a hard audition because they really wanted to test how you were just on the spot improvising. So that's kind of all they knew going into it, was like, this is going to be very much so on you coming up with lines on the spot. And then once the 3 lead actors were chosen, they had to sign a release for the production team to, like, they basically said, like, quote unquote, like, mess with their head, like, which is basically like, you allow us to do whatever for this movie. And you have to be okay with that. So there were obviously things that they knew about and stuff, but they did not know everything that would happen.
Wow.
And so scenes like when they're in the tent and they hear things and then someone comes and like starts touching like through the tent, they didn't know that was going to happen.
Oh my gosh.
Most of those things were surprises to them while they were in real life camping in the woods.
So hence the 140 sometimes they said fuck or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Like that's what happens to me when I get afraid. I'm just like, I just swear and scream.
Yeah, like Laura at a haunted house is just swearing.
By the end of the night, my voice sounds like this, so even if I'm completely healthy.
Yep.
So
yeah. Which, you know, the actors, it's like in a way, it's like they're not even acting, right? Because they are kind of just reacting the way that you would expect people to react when they're lost.
In
the forest.
Yeah.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, I remember, and this might have been more of just a rumor than a real thing, but like that they did at times actually get lost, like off track of where they thought they were, and like that they had a hard time like getting in touch with the people they needed to. So like there were moments of like actually being lost in the woods.
Yes. Yeah. So the way that it worked is they were basically, so they had a walkie-talkie, which is what allowed them to talk to the directors, producers, basically like whoever was kind of on watch for them, you know, to keep track of where they were. And then they also had a GPS device in order to, you know, hopefully not actually end up lost, even if they, you know, weren't able to communicate. And then what they would do is they would basically drop crates in the forest where it would have the food that they needed, as well as instructions on kind of the next day shoot and things that were going to happen and things that they needed them to do.
Okay.
That is wild.
And then kind of at a certain point in the day, they would give them the next GPS coordinate, which is you need to get there now and go get your stuff.
Oh my gosh.
That's kind of their instructions for the day. So it's not like they had a whole crew, you know, with them working and doing stuff. Like they,
like that's
in a lot of ways
wild.
were on their own. And they really did just make the movie because almost all of the shots, I think it's like at least 99%, were done by the actors.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of the scenes were improvised, which was just stuff that they thought would be a good idea while they were out there.
Okay.
So
wow.
It's such a crazy concept. And then especially so one of the ways that they wanted them to become more agitated by the end of it. So they would actually reduce the amount of food that they got every day. They always gave them enough water because you like need water to survive. But by the end of it, like I think on their last day, they basically had a power bar and an apple.
Oh my gosh.
Is what was waiting for them
as
they're
hiking through the woods.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would lose my ever living shit.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because that feeds right into what I'll talk about when we talk about psych.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God.
That's amazing.
Crazy.
No, I mean, they absolutely messed with the actors. So in the one of the other scenes where I think it's like, it's just not acting at this point is when they realized that they spent the entire day traveling only to end up in the exact same spot. And then all three of them kind of like freak out because they realize that, you know, they're lost. They had been given instructions, obviously, like, oh, okay, now hike here. Okay, now hike here. And then they ended their day in the same spot. So the actors had been hiking all day in real life.
Oh my gosh.
And then realized that they were just going around in a circle in order to end up in the same spot. So a lot of those reactions are
genuine.
Being upset.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's a really unique idea for a movie. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know of any other movie that's done like that, especially for the time that had ever been done that way. Like, so I'll give them mad props for that. Like, that's a pretty cool premise to be like, hey, let's make this as realistic as we can.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really like what reality TV became.
Yeah.
Because reality TV pretends to be real, but there's so much direction and scripting that goes into it. But then sometimes
this was probably even more real than most reality TV is.
Yeah. Honestly. And I know they did have like if there were specific things that they wanted them to do that they didn't do on their own, because they were checking up on them obviously throughout the day to make sure things were getting done. If there was like a specific thing that they didn't do, the producers would like call them on the walkie-talkie and be like, no, like you need to go back and do XYZ. Oh, I guess one of those was when it's down to just Heather and Mike, right? Because Josh is now gone. And then they get the bundle of sticks in the front of their tent. She had thrown it to the side and then they had decided to just move on. And so the producer called them and said, no, you have to open the bag of sticks. So that was one example where they sent them back to go do something because they knew they needed that part for the film.
Okay.
So yeah, it was like some of it was on their own, but like very much so guided by the producers in order to make sure they were getting what they needed.
Makes sense.
So should we talk a little bit about the progression of like the haunting?
Yes.
Well, not the haunting, but like the witch's like involvement.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because they start out in town.
Yep, they start out in town and they interview some people.
They're interviewing people. And I found Heather to be the most annoying interviewer. She would ask a question, but she wouldn't let the person answer. She then like barged in with everything she had to say. And like,
did she just not seem like such a Karen?
Oh yeah.
God, yes.
Like she was a mini junior Karen in the making. Like there was just the way she talked, even before when they were in their hotel room and they were like drinking, I was so annoyed by her that I was like, why do I hate this woman so much?
Yeah. Oh, a fun fact for the hotel room, just since you bring it up. So, I mean, again, just so much of this is real. So the directors, producers, like whoever was working, they did give them money to go get food and stuff for, before they went out. And they decided to spend it on alcohol.
Nice.
So they actually got drunk in the hotel room. Nice. And this was the longest scene, quote unquote, that they filmed. It was 90 minutes of them basically just getting trashed. At one point, one of them started like reciting poetry. Like it went completely off the deep end.
Okay, now that I want to see.
Yeah, I want to see that.
I would love to see the outtakes of that.
Well, because then the next day when they start out on their adventure, like I forget if it's Josh or Mikey, but one of the guys is like, "Oh man, I'm hurting." So I wonder if like he just genuinely was hungover.
I think absolutely, because they actually got like trashed.
Oh my God, that would be hard to like go on that major of a hike when you're hungover.
I would die.
No, thank you.
I would die.
I've done it.
Yeah, that's not fun. You're already dehydrated.
Right.
And then the kind of at the start of their journey, oh my God, there's so many fun facts for this movie. At the start of their journey, when Heather does her little like monologue to start the quote unquote movie, she wrote that herself. So the directors just told her like, come up with what you think, kind of like a, you know, I don't know, like an over the top film student would come up as their introduction for it. So she did all of it.
She did well because it nailed it, I think.
Yeah.
Well, because she does one like at a graveyard, but then one at Coffin Rock.
Right.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So she kind of like continues it on, but both were just ridiculous. And like just the way she sort of changes her affect.
Yes.
Like, oh, now I'm very serious.
Oh,
yes. No, where it's like the news reporter.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that is one of my biggest pet peeves. And I can't do it now because I have my sick voice. But like there's a person who just talks like a normal person and then they come on the news and it's like, stop talking like that.
I literally don't think there's anyone that doesn't do that works in the news.
It drives me bonkers.
They have to do it.
Yep.
Like it just
so funny.
That and loud mastication. I can't handle it.
Oh, okay,
I love mastication.
What?
Especially if it's
do you? Are you just saying that?
I don't know. Am I?
It's like moist mastication. No.
Oh no. I hate all of this. Okay, no, stop.
Kristen
okay, we're
Vasquez,
moving on.
That word is for you. She hates the word moist.
We're moving on. Oh, okay. In the town, just before we like move on from that. So the actors were told that the Blair Witch legend was actually true. When they introduced them to the movie and stuff, part of it was they were told this was a real legend as they introduced it to them. So they went into this thinking that was already a real thing. And so then the directors asked them to go interview real people in town about it, which is, you know, the beginning of the movie. Uh-huh. And so what they did is they interviewed real people, but then they had plants. So they had actors that they had hired and given a bunch of info to help that like further the idea that this was a real thing. But some of the people, like the woman that she interviews that's like holding a baby and she's like wearing sunglasses, like that's an actual just local person.
Nice.
That they talked to who just decided to say, oh yeah, no, I've heard of that. Like, you know, let me
tell you about it. Oh my God, that's great.
And then they couldn't find her to sign a release, like to sign her waiver for the movie. So they just decided to keep her in. They were like, I don't know.
Well,
she's mad about it. She'll get back to us.
She'll let us know.
Do you think she saw it and was like, oh my gosh, I'm in the movie?
I hope. Right? I mean, I'd be pretty pumped if I saw myself in that.
I would contact them and just be like, just add my name to the credits, please.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then one of the other people that they had hired for it was oh my gosh, she has what's her name? I don't know if she even gives them the name in the movie. I'm trying to find her.
It wasn't the Mary Brown. Oh no, because that was the legend.
Yes, Mary Brown.
It was Mary Brown.
Yeah, Mary Brown was the character. I was trying to find her name. So the way that they got Mary Brown is while they were making the movie, they put up posters at a local college, thinking that like maybe they could get some students to help them do the work. Because as I'm sure we'll talk about later, they had a very low budget for this movie, and she was the only one that got back to them.
Oh my gosh.
The only one who was interested in becoming an intern. So she ended up getting that role, like the acting role. And then she also was an actual intern for their art department on this movie.
Oh, that's amazing.
So,
that's awesome.
Good job, Mary Brown.
Yeah, well done.
Oh, her real name is Patricia.
Okay.
Nice.
Nice job, Patricia.
Okay, so before we get to our next segment, because next they go into the woods.
They sure do.
Talk about what we're sipping on.
Yes.
Because we are sipping on the Into the Woods.
You chose this one tonight, right?
Yes.
Blair?
So I chose this drink tonight because I just thought it was perfectly fitting. I found a cocktail called Into the Woods and thought it was too good.
Perfect.
So this cocktail has bourbon, dry hard cider, ginger beer, bitters, and a lemon wedge. And it's very good. What do you think? How did you describe it?
I mean, well, to me, it just tastes exactly how you expect it to taste. You know, it's like it has bourbon. It has like in the best way, like an almost like medicine like smoothness to it. Because you have the lemon and you have the ginger beer. Like it's one of those drinks that like just kind of makes you feel better. You know, it just feels good to drink it.
Gives you all the warm
yummy.
Fuzzies.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's right up my alley.
A nice fall time drink.
It is. Yeah. No, this would be a good one to have in the woods.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. All right.
I think this
and I think
pick.
when they're getting drunk in the hotel, they're drinking whiskey. So it's kind of
what they perfect.
Drink.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they go into the woods. They start at Coffin Rock, where we've got the monologue that we talked about, and then they go just into the woods. And it's Heather that has the map, and she claims to know exactly where they're going.
Yeah.
Yes, she's very confident.
Are they looking for a house, or what are they looking for?
No, I think she had heard that there was another cemetery
there.
So they were looking for signs of the Blair Witch.
Okay.
And then I think where they first go is where she actually intended to go. I think.
Okay.
And then I think, you're right. It's when they were trying to find the cemetery. And I feel like between the shaky camera and the tension that builds between the three of them, just being so annoyed with each other and just fighting, I feel like it does a good job though of building the tension.
It does.
Because it makes you kind of like irritable yourself, which is like it kind of just gets you to be like jumpy.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah.
And on edge.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it starts to rain on their first night. And so, there's a lot going wrong to like cause you to be grumpy and on edge.
And they were actually grumpy in real life. I guess, so in the movie and in kind of like the, quote unquote script, they wrote it to have Heather and Mike fight, and then Josh was kind of the person who would be like the peacemaker, to kind of like get them to calm down and stop, and like that's kind of what we see. But apparently in real life, Heather and Josh did not get along. Like they would fight constantly while filming everything.
And my gosh.
It actually made it really hard to edit the movie because they originally thought maybe they could keep it in, but then they feared that it would look like Josh and Mike were kind of ganging up against Heather. So like they didn't want that. They wanted the original, like Josh is the peacemaker. But apparently they fought all the time. And at one point they were just like really getting into it to the point where whoever was kind of like keeping track of them, he broke the rules and decided to step in because it was getting really escalated. Like they were kind of worried that their fight was getting way too heated.
Oh my gosh.
So they actually stepped in and like went in and told like all of them to calm down. So I think they were all actually
when you put people, yes, they're actors, but they're still people, in this high stress, high tension situation. Like, of course, people are going to react. Like, and then you stop feeding them, and it's like, well, no shit.
Right.
Well, and you don't know how. And I guess it's kind of like interesting. I wonder how much in the like auditioning and the prep work, I wonder how much they watched the interaction between the three of them. Because part of me thinks like, why would they set it up that way?
Yeah, why didn't they set it up to be the other way then, maybe?
Like having known them, obviously they're actors, so they were supposed to act in certain ways.
Right.
But I'm sure even the best actor can't be like on for
all the time, 24/7
while hiking through the woods with nothing but a power bar
and
to fuel
doing
you.
all the filming yourself and like
So they were really agitated.
Wow.
Then the next morning is when we start to see signs of the witch, like the witching, the haunting.
Yes.
Little piles of rocks
outside their tent.
There's three piles of rocks that are outside their tent. And it almost kind of looks like they're maybe like little graves or something.
Yeah.
So that's how it starts.
Yeah, just little things.
And then it just kind of, it progresses. Basically the next couple of days is just a cycle of them hiking through the woods, getting lost.
They find the voodoo shit.
They find the voodoo shit hanging from the trees.
Yes.
Which if you don't know what we're talking about, just Google Blair Witch trees and you'll see it. It's very cool.
Yeah, we've been living under a rock if you don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when they're lost, we find out that the map goes missing.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
It's been a couple of days now and the map is missing.
Mikey kind of gets like a little bit hysterical and he like admits that it's after like almost like a whole day where they're, Heather's thinking she's losing it. She lost it. She's apologizing to them, feeling guilty. And then Mikey's like, yeah, I kicked it into the river because it wasn't doing any good.
Oh,
and they lose it, rightfully so, especially Heather. She loses her shit on him, which, like, fair.
And Mike is, like, laughing, right? Like,
he's like losing it. Like, he's lost his damn mind.
He's gone to another state.
This boy needs more than a power bar. He's not well. Needs a shower and a bed and a hot meal.
Some better coping skills for sure.
Yes.
Maybe. Yeah.
So then at this point, they go to bed again, and the next morning they wake up and Josh is gone, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Josh is gone. And like, keep in mind, they had scary stuff happening the nights before when they were in their tent, and it was just kind of escalating. Like the eerie, creepy things that are happening has just been escalating over time. So at this point, Josh is missing. So they're like screaming for him, trying to find him, and they decide to like just pack up their stuff, and maybe by the time they pack it up, they'll find him. And that's when they see the bundle outside the tent.
Oh, yeah.
And they open the bundle, and what was it? Was it his teeth?
So I think it was a tooth, and then I don't know, like a tongue.
Was it a tongue?
I couldn't tell.
To me, it looked like like an internal organ.
Okay.
Like it looked like, but I think I'm in the minority in this opinion. Like I didn't even notice the teeth because I was so focused on what looked like the
whatever
bloody
the
organ
thing was. Yeah.
Like it almost looked like, I don't know, a spleen or something.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, it did.
So there was something of Josh's in this little bundle. Well, we assume Josh. We assume.
And because we should say prior to that, so that didn't come until like maybe after the second night he'd been missing.
Okay.
Because before that, when they're, just deciding to still move on and trying to get out of there, they hear Josh's scream.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
So in the middle of the night, they hear his screams and then they like call out for him, but they can't tell where it's coming from.
Yeah.
They don't really respond. And then it's like something's chasing them. They're running. So it's like super intense.
Yeah. Oh, and they didn't know, by the way, that Josh was going to be leaving the group. So it was in the crate of instructions for Josh that he was going to be killed.
Okay.
It was like, okay, you're killed. You have to leave now.
Nice.
So they didn't know that was going to happen. As far as they knew, it was going to be the three of them.
Wow.
Forward to the end.
The thing that happens to me during every horror movie is happening where it's like, I didn't like the movie, but as we're talking about it, I was like, this is the best movie ever. Like it's brilliant. I love the making of this movie.
That's the thing. It's the making of the movie. That's
it is.
The product, not so much. But the making of it is great.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Well, and then there was a line that happened when, I forget if it was before or during when Josh was missing. So Heather's just still constantly filming.
Yes.
And she just won't stop. And she's kind of like, this is all I have. Like, I have to do it. But, Josh at one point was getting mad at her, and for sure Mikey was getting mad at her for doing it. And they said this quote, so it must have been before Josh went missing, because Josh goes, the video camera is like a filtered reality. Okay, and so this happened in 1999, and think about where we're now at in 2020.
They were so ahead of their time.
We're always on camera, and it's always a filtered reality.
It is a filter. Yeah. They were so ahead of their time.
I might have the beauty feature a little bit on the Zoom right now. Maybe.
Voguing right now.
I just thought that was so insightful and ahead of its time.
It is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
And completely improvised. I think they talked about that line specifically in the commentary that I watched, because it was them like watching the movie and making commentary on it. And that was one of those lines that they were like, that was so cool that he added that in.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So at this point, It's just Mikey and Heather.
We get the famous scene of her at the beanie.
Oh, yes. That is the infamous scene of her in the beanie, the close up with the snot and the cry. And actually, you know what? I think because I was older when I then saw Scary Movie.
Yeah.
I thought that scene was worse than it was. It's not that bad. Like, I remembered it being a lot worse than like a lot more cringe maybe, but I was like, okay, actually it's not that bad. Like, she's just having a little meltdown.
Right.
Yeah. Great scene.
It's what people think about. They think about the stick
that is
figurines, and they think about her in the beanie.
Yep.
Up close shot.
Yep. So then how exactly do they stumble upon the kind of final scene? Is it just that they're still looking for Josh and they just stumble upon?
I think they literally stumble upon, because they remember the house. So it was before they had decided, let's just go south, because they were like, there's only so much forest or whatever. Let's just move south and eventually we'll hit something.
Yeah.
Ended up back where they were. So they said, I forget if it was
East.
Yeah, because it was like, is it Wicked Witch of the East or Wicked Witch of the West?
Right, they were like, which one was bad?
Yeah, it's like, which one was bad? It's like, okay, let's go that way. So they went a new direction, and I think they literally stumbled upon the house.
Okay.
Like, it just came up, and they were like, wait, what is that?
And I have to say, like, this scene is what I remember scaring me as a child, and it still kind of got me this time. Like, it is a very creepy house that they stumble upon. So yeah, they enter the house and it's just totally decrepit and falling apart.
There's like bloody handprints that look
like children's. Oh, we forgot to talk about the children, I think.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. Yes, let's
Yeah.
talk about the children real quick.
Yeah, because one night while they're asleep, what they wake up to is just the sound of children.
Yes, which is Yvette's worst nightmare.
My biggest fear. Okay, if that happened though,
that would be
creepy,
terrifying.
I don't know
kids are creepy.
if I'd be as scared of the kids or like the laughing women.
Oh yeah,
maybe the kids. Actually, you're right.
Maybe the kids.
Right, maybe the kids. Yeah.
It's like you're in the middle of nowhere. At this point, they realized they were lost. Like they knew that they were lost, and so to all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, hear a bunch of children playing. No,
thank you. Nope, right out of there.
Well, and when they were doing their interviews in town, that was one of the legends. Was that like, back in the 1940s, all these kids died.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Or all these kids went missing. Like disproportionate to how many should have gone missing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they're in the house. It's night. We've only got their camera light to see. So it's very creepy. And Mikey is kind of like not abandoning Heather, but he's just on his own.
Yeah, I think
he's trying to find Josh.
Yeah, because
like he thinks Josh is in this house.
Well, because they hear him again and again. They can't tell where.
So he thinks he's upstairs. So Mikey races upstairs, and that's where we see all the handprints of the children leading up the stairs. And there's nothing up there. And so that's when he goes downstairs, which just if someone is going downstairs, it's over.
It's going to be bad.
Never go into a basement.
No.
Never go. I'm in a basement right now. And
I am literally in a basement right now.
Oh, I watched the movie in a basement. I mean, terrible idea.
Never go into a creepy basement.
Creepy. I think any basement can be creepy given the right circumstances.
It's true.
So Mikey races ahead, and then Heather is like screaming his name.
Oh my gosh!
Because she's panicking at this point, and she kind of falls down the stairs, and I think drops the camera.
Yeah, she drops.
And so all we see is the silhouette of Mikey standing over like the back of him, staring at something.
Yeah, it's like kind of catatonic,
and that's it.
At the wall. And that's it. And then the movie just ends.
Dunzo.
Now there were some alternate endings.
Ooh, okay.
So interesting.
No, and here's the thing: they're not that interesting. Okay. They're only very mildly different. And I was very upset about it because when I saw that there were alternate endings, I thought this is great because I don't like the ending. Yeah. Here we go. I want to see them. No, they're only mildly different.
Okay.
One of the options is exactly what we get. We go downstairs, see the camera coming through, and then we see Mike standing facing the corner. Option number 2 that they decided not to go with was the exact same camera coming down. We head downstairs. Mike is facing Heather or the camera. So it's just him flipped around. Option number 3 is exact same thing. Go downstairs. We look into that part of the room.
He's sideways.
Mike, but yeah, just 45 degree. Honestly, it's like these are it's mild. And it's Mike, but he has been hanged or hung himself.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
And then
I might have liked that better.
I think that would have been the best one. And then option number 4 was Mike in the corner levitating, kind of like in like a crucified pose. So like arms spread out, legs together down, but lifted up.
Okay.
Like Jesus.
Yeah. So those were the alternate endings.
Okay, I think the hanging one is the only one that I would have found interesting.
I feel like that would have made more sense for the movie.
Yeah. Or the levitating one.
Yeah, and I do think in kind of testing, because they did kind of their own testing. I don't think it was kind of like the regular testing that you do for a movie because their budget was so low. In their own kind of testing where they like showed it to audiences, I think people were confused no matter what.
Yeah.
And they decided to just go with the one where he was facing the wall. But
I mean, I guess I actually kind of like how open-ended it is.
I do too.
Because you have to like come up with your own conclusions as to what happened, especially because they're missing, not dead. So it's not like they found the bodies. So it's like
because we at the very beginning of the movie, I don't know that we even said this. Like, there's a statement on the screen that says, like, it says in 1994.
94
came out in 1999.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's found footage. So this would have been years later.
Was found like a year later.
Yeah.
So we know that like the whole time that they're in the woods, we've already seen that statement where we know
they don't make it out. Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I would be very interested in the psychoanalysis for this movie. So I'm excited for that. I feel like we should get into that because I think there's a lot to unpack.
Great.
No, because you know what? When it's a subpar movie,
right?
You only got so much to work with.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to do a little bit of a diagnosing this episode, but not of like a standard classic what you'd find in a DSM diagnosing.
And before you get in, just a reminder.
Oh, yeah.
Laura's not a real doctor, but despite what their advertising campaign said, these are not real people.
Correct.
Yep. Preach.
So take this with a grain of salt and make a margarita. Okay. So I don't know. That was bad. Cut that part out.
Nope. I leave that part in.
We're keeping that in.
I love to make dad jokes.
I love how many. We should just make a compilation of us being like, cut that out. Cut that out. No,
cut my cheesy dad jokes.
Yeah, cut that out.
We never cut it out.
No, we never cut it. I never cut it out.
You don't. Okay, so I'm diagnosing them all with something that is actually very common in children. So mostly the people that I work with are kids. Not mostly, exclusively. And something that kids will be not diagnosed with, but kind of people say that they have this. Because kids are a little bit harder to fully diagnose, is just irritability. It's like a standard symptom across the board. It is a symptom for everything. Every mental health problem you can find under the sun, if it's being considered for a kid, irritability is a sign. Because all kids are going to have this because they don't know how to like express.
Yep, that's fair.
And I feel like all of these people had a problem with irritability.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah. But irritability, it's a normal reaction. Everyone at some point has been irritable. But it's this aversive reaction you have to triggers. So it could be anything from like you have a hangnail and it makes you irritable to you haven't slept, you're hungry, you're being bullied, like more serious problems. It's like a big range to what can make a person irritable. I personally get irritable when I'm hungry.
The old hangry.
I get hangry. I get hangry.
Yep.
I get it.
Babies and children are often irritable when they're tired and hungry, which I find really interesting because I felt like every character in this movie, the three main characters in this movie were babies. They were acting like babies.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently they were tired and hungry.
And they were tired and hungry. Yeah.
Yeah. So if irritability is chronic, if it's long lasting, it could be a sign of a more serious mental health or medical problem.
Mm-hmm.
So especially like, in this movie, they were starving and being haunted. So it makes sense. And the interesting thing about irritability is it involves this feeling like you've lost control. And I know that's what it is for myself when I feel irritable. It's like I feel out of control. But at the same time, when you're irritable, you feel like you have to control things. So it's like you've got those two like conflicting thoughts and feelings going on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just like you're agitated, you're easily frustrated, you're fussy, which is what I would call them. You can be confused, angry, and then stress, anxiety, low blood sugar, and fatigue can be common causes.
Fair.
I mean, I
that's
think
what
they were
I've diagnosed them
experiencing
with.
all of that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I noticed in the movie, which again, I think not everyone would notice it, but I, from my psychological background, did, is the rocking that Mikey did at one point.
Yeah.
Did you notice
he's
when,
like, he's
the
sitting
haunted
down
room
against the
scene.
tree, just like rocking back and forth.
Yes. So that is a actually not uncommon coping mechanism. And there's science behind why it works. So it can help relieve stress and pain, and it stimulates the vestibular system, which is like your inner ear.
Yeah.
I'm stuck in an ATM vestibular.
Exactly.
With Jill Goodacre.
Don't make me laugh. I'm going to cough.
Oh, that's right. Lars won't let the laugh today.
I'll cut that part out.
You're not allowed to laugh. No, you won't. You will not cut that out.
Couldn't help it.
But yeah, so it is linked to dopamine, and so when you're doing that rocking, it can release endorphins, but also that like swinging motion is similar to like some patterns of sleep. So that's why people find it relaxing to do. If it's done with no purpose, like purposelessly, or repetitively, it could be a sign of something more serious, or it could just be that that individual like craves that sensory stimulation. It might not be anything, but it could mean that they're like going through something like severe and they need help. And yeah, it's a reaction to if you're feeling agitated, anxious, restless, fear, or lack of sleep.
I think they were experiencing 100% of that.
Yeah, exactly. Mikey was going through all of that. So, so that's why he was rocking.
Nice.
Yeah. I wonder how the actor came up with it. Like, like I wonder if he either like experienced it or like just
like if it was a genuine moment.
Or if it was just genuinely he was so done with it,
or if it was like something that he like did in the past and helped him, so he like thought to incorporate it.
Right.
Either way, it was good. It's a good addition. I totally noticed it in the movie. And I was like, hey, I feel like that's something someone would do when they're just like freaking out and trying to calm down.
Yep. And that's kind of why like you might see people like doing that with their hands up to their ear when they're rocking is because again, it's all related to that like inner ear vestibular system.
Yeah.
Gregor.
Stuck in an ATM vestibule with Jill Goodacre.
In fact, do you even know what we're talking about?
No.
It's a Friends reference.
It's a Friends episode.
I'm sorry. I've only seen some of Friends.
Oh, so painful.
I am almost through season 10 for like the 10th time.
Yeah, like I've probably rewatched it 10 times.
Comfort shows, they're good.
Yep.
I get it.
Anyways.
And so the only other thing I wanted to talk about, the psychology behind fear.
Oh,
we've done so many scary movies, but I don't think we've really covered it.
Yeah, like just fear.
Yeah. So there can be multiple types of fear. So one would be a rational fear. And that's going to occur when there's a real imminent threat, like something is coming for you. It's rational to be afraid.
Yeah.
Like a witch. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Or there's something called a primal fear. And this is an innate fear that's like programmed into our brain. So like this would be cliffs on top of like extreme heights. Like we are programmed to be afraid of that because it's for our survival. If we weren't afraid of it, people would fall off cliffs all the time and we wouldn't survive.
Fair.
So there's that primal fear. or there's irrational fear. And this can be
like walking up the stairs after watching a scary movie.
Oh, that's the worst.
The worst.
The
or
worst
your little
feeling.
piles of rocks.
Yeah.
But actually, if you don't know what to put them there, that's
actually I feel like the rocks are rational. I'd be freaked out.
See, so for me, like walking up the stairs is kind of an irrational fear, but more than that, it's like the edge of the bed or the couch where like there's a gap between the floor and the base. Like there is something in there that is going to grab out and reach like my ankles.
Yeah.
But then I would also say that there's a learned fear. So this is something big in psychology. There's like, the famous experiment where there's this little baby Albert. I think is it Skinner? Oh God. I should remember who this is.
Wow.
That really sounds right.
That does sound right.
Well, it's one of those old white psychologists, guys.
Yeah.
But so I remember the baby's name, baby Albert. He's like this little boy, and he sees this like white fluffy bunny, and he thinks it's cute. He goes to play with the bunny, and he's like, oh yeah, it's so cute. But then they keep bringing out the bunny, but then they pair seeing the bunny with this big loud bang that terrifies the shit out of the little baby. And so it's kind of this like primal fear to be afraid of big, loud, unexpected sound. That's like natural. But then suddenly baby Albert starts to associate the fear when he sees the bunny. It has nothing. Like, there's no sound associated with it. He sees the bunny, and then it's like all like white animals. Like he gets like afraid of them all.
Yeah, old psych studies were really messed up.
Wild. What unethical. They could get away with.
Really messed
Wild.
up.
It's funny because it's like, well, it's not funny, but it's interesting that we learned so much, and people still talk about these experiments.
Oh yeah.
So many years later, but also we could never do them and should never do them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it kind of creates these invaluable.
Yeah, no, it's hard.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, we have the results, so we might as well learn from them.
Right. I mean, like poor Albert might as well be used for something.
Maybe we shouldn't do that.
Right. So then so there's fear responses. So the responses to fear, there used to only be 3. I remember when all we talked about was 3: fight, flight, or freeze. But there's a 4th one.
Fawn.
What?
Yeah, fawn.
Oh.
So you're faced with this threat. It causes fear. You're either gonna fight back, try to overtake the thing causing you fear. You're going to run away. You're going to freeze, like just be paralyzed. You can't move. Or you're going to try to do something to get on the side of whatever is threatening you. So like someone's coming to attack you, and like you could, I don't know, somehow try to like turn them to your favor.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the reactions to fear, which I think we saw the flight mostly.
Yeah.
They mostly ran.
Yeah, they mostly ran.
Maybe fight when they like ran towards hearing him scream, because like they were willing to fight what they came upon to get to him. Yeah. So we like maybe saw a fight a little bit. Yeah. And then even freeze, I feel like we saw once we got to the house.
Yeah. Oh, honestly, true. Even in the tent, like sometimes before they ran, their immediate reaction was like, oh, what's happening?
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Ladies, I can't stop thinking about the fact that I said the total wrong psychologist. I blame my cold medicine.
That's okay.
Watson.
Okay.
Everyone. Okay.
It's you figured it out.
Skinner put pigeons in a box. Watson did this thing.
I mean, anyway. Skinner sounded right.
No, but it wasn't Skinner.
We knew he was one of the popular ones.
Skinner did the box. Watson did the fear.
Hey, you know what? You're sick. We don't care. Like we said, you're not a real doctor.
I'm not a real doctor. I said it and I was like, I know this is wrong. This is going to drive me nuts.
And you know what? Now you've said the right thing.
Yeah.
People will have learned something today.
Interesting. I feel like though, like it is cool to have a movie where we see the fight, flight, or freeze. Mm-hmm. Like I think that I'm sure that we see it in a lot of the movies we have, but I feel like this one really encapsulated that.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
And
wonder
the reason why there's
Yeah.
just these very specific things that everyone does is because your fear response comes from your amygdala. It's like this core part of your brain that's kind of primal, and it's like that's why everyone kind of does those same similar things, because it's like this very primal need to be able to respond to fear.
Yeah. Yeah, I almost wonder how much say the actors got in what their reaction was. Like, I wonder if it was part of their instruction that once they heard something to run, or part of me thinks that's not what happened, because a lot of those things were a surprise to them, like the sound stuff at night. So I wonder if that's interesting, that was probably just their reaction.
I think so.
Let's all flight.
Yep.
Right? It's just
like
freeze
and then flight.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm guessing the actors too go through what you would go through just being afraid, where like your blood pressure rises, you have increased heart rate,
that adrenaline
your
rush.
adrenaline kicks in. So like they were really afraid. So of course what we're seeing them do is natural, because
because it's interesting to think how the movie could have been different if all of their reactions had been something like freeze, like where instead of running away, they all just like stood and then nothing happened.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So so that's all the psych that I came up with.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, basically they're all irritable babies, but they were genuinely afraid and need to learn some new coping skills. There we go. Psycho analysis.
I mean,
done and done.
That seems pretty reasonable.
I love it.
Okay, so I think we got through pretty much all of the fun facts while we were talking. I do have a few more. Do you guys want to hear?
Yes.
Yeah, because I like the facts of this movie a lot.
Yeah, no, it's fun. Okay, so the actors were kind of given obviously free reign a lot of what they could do. So especially at the beginning of the movie, like when they went to the store and like were hanging out, one of the things that they decided to do was get a bunch of power bars, which they did kind of zoom in on and we saw. And it took them a really long time to get power bars permission to show it in the movie. Because they needed to run it through them.
It's like free advertisement.
No, exactly. So obviously they agreed to it. And then with the success of the movie, I think a bunch of them are sent free power bars all the time because they realized how great it was for them.
That's awesome.
And then there was a song at the beginning that I think they were playing in the car when they were first driving around. They could not afford the rights to it. I forget which song it was now, but it was like, this would have been absolutely insane.
Right. No way.
They ended up just removing that
Good
audio.
Call. Good call.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay. Apparently one of the first questions that Heather asked the directors, given, what I've kind of explained to you guys, like the information that they have, I totally get it. One of her first questions was, are you making a snuff film?
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
Are you actually going to kill me?
Yes.
Yeah, no. Like
the answer to that question is yes.
Snuff film? Because I'm not interested. Honestly, a fair question.
No, it is a fair question.
Given everything, like the way they described this movie, that's a fair question.
Very fair.
But if they were, they wouldn't tell her.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
like, I don't really know how snuff films work, but
she asked just in case. Legally, you have to tell me.
Yeah, legally.
If you're a cop, you have to tell me legally.
If you're a cop, I need to know.
Okay. One other one, we talked about the children's noises. The way that they did this was one of the directors basically just recorded the sound of children playing at like a playground or something near the house.
Creepy.
And then they played it over boom boxes in the forest.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, boom
that would
boxes.
Be terrifying.
Yes, boom boxes. You heard that right. Not speakers, boom boxes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Because it was 1999.
That's amazing.
Okay, for Josh's I guess one thing we didn't talk about is we knew likely Josh was going to be the one that was missing because before he had gotten the slime.
Oh yeah,
and all this stuff. Right. So we knew he was being targeted. So it was like we knew something was up with him. The slime was KY jelly that they just got at the store.
Nice.
Did they dye it blue? Because they talked about it was like blue.
Yeah, I think they
they must have.
Maybe they sell blue jelly.
They might. They sell like party themed ones.
Yeah. Yeah. If
blue
you don't know
raspberry.
what that is, look it up. Let's see. Oh, one thing. Okay. I've already talked about that. Like, I don't love this movie. I was legitimately kind of angry about this fun fact. Apparently, during part of the movie where they're running away, where Heather like screams like, "Oh my God, like what is that?" as they're like running, they wanted them to turn, and we were supposed to see the witch while they were running.
What?
But they just forgot to do that.
Oh my gosh, because that would be really cool.
We didn't get it. And I'm really mad about it. And they decided not to reshoot.
I wonder why, because that would have been really cool to get to see the witch.
Because, you know, I had the same thought when they were like in the voodoo tree circle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought it'd be really cool as they're like she's going
just
back.
Have a very small,
like, subtle,
brief, it was just a quick, like, because obviously they were like running away, like really, you know, it was just supposed to be like a quick, like while they're running, we see the witch, which, I mean, because it's not up for debate whether or not there was actually something happening, right? Like clearly something was after them, and following them, and we're supposed to assume it's the witch. Show us the witch.
Show us the witch.
I was really mad about this. Yeah. I don't know why they decided not to reshoot. I think even though it's just a tiny detail, I think it would have been really good to just see it, because we don't see her. Mm-hmm. We don't see her at the end. I think it would have been good.
I agree.
That's just my opinion. Okay, well, we talked about the low budget.
Yes.
The film ended up costing about $60,000 to make, and it made $248 million.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah.
Well
I think it broke some record for like the ratio. So it was for every dollar that they spent, they made $10,931.
Damn. That's wild.
That's
so
impressive.
They absolutely crushed it.
Wow.
One of the things that they did to save money was one of the one of the cameras that they used for filming, they returned it once they were done.
Nice. Like, here you go. We're done. Like, thank you.
Yeah, no, we're just going to return it.
And that's funny because they kept talking about that in the movie.
Yeah.
Because I had to look up what a DAT was, because they kept saying, you got to return the DAT. And it's a type camera.
Yeah.
No, that's so funny.
They were actually returning it.
I love that.
It took them 8 days to shoot the movie.
Oh, okay.
8 days to shoot the whole thing. But it took them 8 months to edit.
That's fair.
In order to have some sort of final product, because they recorded a lot.
They probably recorded
most
like
of their day,
almost everything.
Yeah, which makes sense. Like, you know, if that was your job, you'd probably just record everything that happened.
Right.
So they had to basically go through the entire day.
What a nightmare.
And then reduce down to what they thought would be actually useful.
Wow.
Yeah, Brianna, you think our editing is tough.
I know.
Yeah.
I think our editing is bad. Woo! Tell you what.
So they did show a test audience. I kind of mentioned this earlier. They showed them a 2.5 hour cut of the movie while they were still editing and cutting stuff out. And so the final movie is under an hour and a half,
which I love.
Respect. We're all a fan of an under 90-minute movie.
Love.
My opinion has always been, if you're going to be bad, at least be under 90 minutes.
Yes.
At least give me that.
Amen.
So I'll give them that. So they cut half the movie.
Oh my gosh.
After this test screening, which is kind of insane.
No, I think that's the right call, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever else they had, I'm sure it's fine to cut. And then the movie actually premiered at Sundance.
Oh. What?
That's wild to me.
That is wild.
That's like Sundance?
Of all the places. All right.
Sundance.
Good for them.
Yeah, so it premiered at Sundance at like a midnight showing.
Nice.
Which, makes sense for this movie. Then after the Sundance premiere, they ended up still doing some editing before releasing it into actual theater. So I think they ended up adding a couple scenes just based on like the feedback and stuff that they got. Let's see. One just like fun fact. The last day of shooting was Halloween night.
Ooh, nice.
They had originally planned to be done the day before, but something happened with the camera. Like the batteries, I think, ran out, and a bunch of stuff happened to delay them a full day. Ooh. So they had to do their final day on Halloween night.
Spooky.
Yes.
That's fitting.
I love that. Right? I love the facts behind this movie.
I know. Yeah.
Like they honestly make the movie more interesting. Like I feel like knowing everything that went into it. If you listen to this episode before you watch the movie, I would wonder how that would be, like knowing everything that went into it before you watched it.
Right.
I almost think it'd make it better.
I agree.
I think this is one of the very few where you could listen and then go watch it, and it might be a better experience.
Totally. I agree.
Okay, so the town of Burkittsville is a real place. It's a real town that a lot of people flooded to once this movie came out, because they didn't read the post-credit scenes that said this was all made up. And so they just went thinking this was a real legend. And apparently the sign that's shown in the movie, you know, kind of in their very beginning where they're doing the introduction, where it's like, oh, here's the town. The sign has been stolen at least 3 times.
Oh my gosh.
People just keep taking it.
I would have thought more, actually.
I know.
Right? No, it's like, 3. So yeah, they had to like up police presence. And then the local movie theater actually decided not to show this movie. Which, show the movie.
Right.
I'm sorry. Like, what else is going on in Burkittsville?
That's a bump to your town economy. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so I have a personal anecdote about this movie, if you guys want to hear it.
Have you been to Burkittsville?
No, but we lived in New Hampshire when this came out. And, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
And I was at that age where I believed that I was a witch.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, you tried to poison me.
I was a witch. I was, everyone, in case you didn't know.
You know, it's a phase a lot of people go through.
I had magical powers, and so did my friends. And so we lived in a house that had woods behind our house.
We did.
So one night, my friends and I were like, we are going to go summon that Blair Witch, because if she's in Massachusetts, she could be in New Hampshire.
Super close. Yeah.
Or we thought maybe we would find a different witch. So we went and performed a seance in the woods. And I swear to God, we thought we saw a witch. We probably didn't. But
no, that's dope.
Little 10-year-old Brianna saw a witch for sure.
What an amazing experience.
Yes, amazing, it was. Actually. It was that's amazing. So
love it.
It was a great time to be alive.
No, I love it. But yeah, it's like, show the movie. Like, yeah. I would love to see it. If that was in my hometown, like,
oh my gosh.
See it.
Yes.
Yeah. I do think we need to add this to the Spooky Sips international tour.
Agreed. Yeah, we got to give it its.
Yeah, we need to buy a map that we can start like.
Yeah. Yes.
Pinning out
all of our
stops.
Yes.
You know,
yes, definitely.
So this room I'm in now is going to be like my new office. Maybe I'll get like a big map.
You should.
So it'll be behind us, and I'll put
get a spooky looking map. Like,
absolutely.
Yes.
Oh,
I love this.
Okay, we're finding a spooky map somewhere. Yes. Someone's made one. 100%.
Yes, there's got to be one out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I only have one more. Okay, my last one was originally in the script. They considered having Josh have a romantic interest in Heather, but they decided to scrape that. I think that was a good call.
I'm glad they did.
Yeah,
I like that. It would have been unnecessary.
Yeah. It's like it you don't need it, right?
No,
like,
you don't.
why? No. So, and they felt the same way. They were like, that doesn't really even make sense, so they decided to cut it. Okay, so that's all my fun facts.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I really feel like that made the movie.
Yeah,
honestly, I know. That's the thing with this movie. It's like, I honestly, I almost feel like it'd be more fun to watch after researching, just knowing what was actually going on.
Yeah,
but
totally.
Just while watching, okay, I feel like we should talk about the ending more, because I hate the ending of this movie.
I know.
See, I kind of liked it. I thought it was the only part of the movie I actually kind of liked.
Okay, and I'll clarify. The reason I hate it is because that's when something was actually happening.
True.
Right. They got to the house and it was like, oh, like,
here we go.
Here we go. I was like, here we go, when there was 3 minutes left apparently in the movie.
Yeah.
Like,
that's true.
To me, I was like, oh my God, like, this is it. This is great. They got here. And then the movie's just over.
I would have even liked it if it would have been kept the same, but they would have made that part a little longer.
Yeah.
Like the part in the house, the exploratory part, the jumpiness. Like, if they had made that even just a little bit longer, I think it would have been better. But it was way too short-lived.
I kind of like that it was just like build up, and then boom, done. Like, I don't know. I kind of appreciate it because it's a little different.
Yeah.
I think this
movie it is.
It's such a, I can see why it's divisive. It really is like, you like it or you don't.
Yeah.
that's just how this movie goes.
Yeah.
So before we get into ratings, speaking of that, do we want to know a little bit about what was going on in 1999?
Absolutely. It was a great year.
We're going to party like it's 1999.
Let's hear it.
When gas on average was $1.22.
Oh, why would you even say that? Why would you even say that to me right now?
The world population was just a little over 6 billion.
Wow.
Isn't it crazy? Like how, like it's exponential.
Quickly, it is exponential.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
We're going to be at 50 billion before we know it.
I know, right? Columbine happened in 1999, which was like,
oh damn,
super intense because it was kind of novel. Not really. I mean, school shootings.
No, I mean,
it was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
It changed a lot of things.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
On a lighter note, the euro was created. So the euro didn't exist before.
Created.
What did they do before that?
What were they doing?
They all had their own individual currencies, and it wasn't until 1999 that they decided on, let's all just do the euro.
Oh,
interesting.
Okay.
Make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Napster was also released. Now, for those of you who don't know Napster, because you're young babies. So before Spotify, basically Spotify, like before the way we listen to music now, if you wanted to listen to an album, because you didn't just like listen to a song at a time, you had to buy it. But Napster was like you could sell or you could share for free with other people. And it was like a huge deal.
It was like a huge deal. I can literally see the logo in my eyes mind.
Oh my God. Yeah, Spotify really changed things. They have no idea how much iTunes money just went in the trash for me.
Right.
That came out.
Absolutely.
So true.
SpongeBob came out.
SpongeBob.
It's the greatest show.
He was born in 1990.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Such a good show.
Oddly enough, there was a giant earthquake in Turkey.
So
there was a giant earthquake in Turkey this year, which just was devastating how many people have died in that.
Right.
I think it's like 41,000 people in the one that just happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
But in the one in 1999, that was also like record breaking. It was 14,000 people.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I didn't know that Turkey has like a ton.
I had no idea.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I had no idea.
Well, I was trying to just like look up the top few because I was like, well, this one in 1999 had to be like the second biggest, but there's so many that it was hard for me to figure out. Like,
weird. I would have never known that.
So
I had no idea. They had,
I like to alternate between really dark and really light. So
it's the only way to get through these.
Yep.
MySpace was big. MySpace was big.
I loved MySpace.
Are there people who don't know what MySpace is?
It was like, I think there are, because it was basically like Facebook.
It's like pre-Facebook.
Before Facebook, but also Facebook originally was invented just for kids in college.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's an Instagram account that we follow and we have a mutual love for each other. They're called Dirty, 30 and Thrive and Dying.
Dirty. It's like 30, Dirty and Dying. I love them as well. Shout out to them.
Shout out to them because they would love this conversation right now. So if you all are listening, we're thinking of you because you would love the MySpace.
The fandom is mutual, ladies.
Yes. Yes. Isn't MySpace Tom like a photographer now or something?
Yeah, I think so.
He's the only tech guy that
it's like thriving out there.
Like acceptable, to like.
Yeah. But yeah, you had to like pick your top 8 friends.
Oh,
and it was a whole big deal if you like moved one, like your spot from number 1 to number 3 or something.
Oh my gosh, the drama.
The drama.
Like picking out like your background with like the sparkles or like the song that you had.
Oh my gosh, the song. Yes, the music.
It was a big deal.
You could like edit your mouse to be like all of the fun, like
yes.
Oh my gosh, what a time to be alive.
Yeah.
Wow.
People were also freaking the fuck out about Y2K.
Right.
Oh yeah.
We can't have a 99 movie without that.
We thought, they thought all of the computers don't know how to go from like the 90s to the double O's, like we're all gonna lose everything. But it was fine, everyone.
We made it. Look at us now.
Yeah.
Bluetooth was announced.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wild.
Bill Clinton was impeached and also acquitted.
Oh.
Oh, Bill. Oh, Bill.
I'll just do a couple more. So some of the big toys that year was the Barbie Dream House and Game Boy Color.
Yes.
I remember when Game Boy, because before it was just gray.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to do the color ones. Oh my gosh, it was
amazing.
Yeah. Oh my God. I will say, I don't know what they were doing with like batteries back in the day, but like bring that back, because
I know, right?
It was like last year or something. They were like cleaning out my parents' basement. And then we had, when we were a kid, like a Game Boy, like the little portable ones. And then I also had a Nintendo DS, which was like the little portable one, which had been in the basement for years at this point, like at least 5 years would be my guess. And it turned on.
I love that. Of course it did.
Power button, and then it just turned on.
Amazing.
That's incredible.
It could be in the apocalypse and those things would still work.
They would.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'll put a Game Boy in my bomb shelter.
Yes.
Yes.
So some other big movies were Star Wars 1, The Phantom Menace.
Oh.
The Sixth Sense, which we were just talking about.
Yes.
Ooh.
Toy Story 2 and The Matrix, which was also like revolutionary, that movie. Some big musicians were Lauryn Hill, who won a Grammy, or a bunch of Grammys, I think.
Yeah.
Lenny Kravitz, Sarah McLachlan. Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera were big, and I just remember there was always a big rival, like which one like.
Yes.
And I remember like Eminem got involved in their rival, and like
the Eminem Christina Aguilera.
Oh my God, what a disaster! What a dumpster fire of culture.
I was Team Christina. Thank you very much.
I love it. Team Britney all the way.
Team Christina. So the top songs were "Believe" by Cher. Which
my God.
I won't torture you all by trying to sing that.
How dare you even say the name of that song? Because now it's going to be stuck in my head.
Well, it's been stuck in my head for this entire episode. So
I'm sorry we just cursed all of you.
Yeah, sorry.
With those words.
I'm loving these fun facts because they're like so nostalgic. Also, No Scrubs by TLC.
Yes.
And Angel of Mine by Monica.
Oh my gosh. What a blast from the past.
So good.
Woodstock 99 was a disaster that happened.
Oh, go watch the documentary.
Yeah. So I know it's not spooky, but if I'm not watching something spooky, I'm watching some sort of true crime documentary, something.
Yep.
And the documentary about Woodstock is fascinating.
So good. No, yes, go watch it. It's so good.
And then the last fact that I found, which we've already talked about, was that Blair Witch was kind of considered the first viral marketing movie.
Nice.
So there we go. There's our 1999.
All right.
Nice.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into the ratings then, because on Spooky Sips, we don't give stars, we give sips. So ladies, out of 5 sips, ooh, I'm interested to see where we're going to go with this.
I am too.
Out of 5 sips, how many sips do you give this movie?
This one is really tough. I think for me personally, it's a 2. It's a 2 out of 5. That's the number I ultimately landed on. And I know, to me, usually 3 and over means go watch it. My 2 doesn't mean don't go watch it, because I think this one divides a lot of people. I think people could still really like it. It just wasn't my cup of tea.
That's fair. That's super fair.
I also landed on the exact same number.
Okay.
Going with a 2-sipper. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. You know what? I think I'm going to have to be unanimous here. And I think I'm going to have to go with a 2 with the caveat that I think it's one of those ones that you should see. Like if you're a horror buff, it should be in your repertoire because you should watch it. It's just for what it is. Like once in your life. But am I ever going to watch this movie again? No, probably not. I probably won't.
Probably not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Until I have a child and then I have to inflict that pain on them. Then I'll see it. But otherwise, no.
Yeah, no, I feel like I appreciate the marketing and the making of this movie so much.
Yes.
But it doesn't translate into a good watchable movie.
Agreed.
Oh, yeah. But it does. Great discussion, though. It's like it is.
It is a great
while we were
discussion.
talking about it, because coming into this, I had thought too. Well, I was watching the movie, and then we were talking about it. It's like, but is it more?
I know.
So much to talk about.
Sometimes our conversation makes me want to bump my rating.
I know.
Me too.
I know.
So the rating, like my rating for the conversation was much higher, but the movie,
100%.
solid 2.
Yeah.
All right.
Agree.
Okay, so next time on Spooky Sips, we are going back to 1960 and watching the classic Alfred Hitchcock Psycho. So I'm sure that you've seen it, but if you haven't, get watching and get sipping, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Perfect.
That was good.
My bye sounded like I was dying.
Thank you for listening to Spooky Sips. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening. To stay up to date on all the spooky things we're up to, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at SpookySips_podcast. And if you want to help support the podcast, consider buying us a coffee, or really a cocktail. We are completely independent, so every little bit goes a long way to keeping our podcast running and improving. Thanks again for listening, and